You have to learn to say no. And that's not easy because whenever you say no, there will be consequences for that sometimes. If you're connected with good people who truly value you, then saying no won't be that big of a deal. They'll respect you and they won't make you feel guilty for it. They won't turn on you, etc. But if you have boundaries long enough and you say no long enough, eventually you will come across somebody that whenever you say no, they're going to make you pay for it because this is somebody who doesn't have your best interest at heart. The consequences could be that they make you feel guilty. The consequences could be that they disconnect from you. Or it could be a lot more severe consequences than even that. The consequences could be that they literally turn on you and try to destroy you. But you really do have to ask yourself a question. What kind of life do I want to live? Do I want to live a life of stress, of nervous system overwhelm, because I don't know how to say no, and I always place other people's needs above my own needs? Or do you want to have plenty of energy to pour out to your friends and your family and your job and the people that are in your life? And then have enough energy to where you've got energy to do stuff that you enjoy as well. Listen, I know that this is boring, and there's probably even a number of people that have already clicked off, like, can't you just give us some reassurance about the symptoms? Like, I get it that that's what people want, but that's not the stuff that's going to help you recover. If I give you reassurance, you're calmed for a moment. But if I teach you the factors that are creating nervous system overwhelm and creating nervous system dysregulation, and you fix those things, you are calm for life. Of course, now that I said it, if you feed a man a fish, he's fed for a day, or woman. If you teach a man or woman to fish, they're fed for life. And I am not in the business of feeding people. I am in the business of handing people fishing poles, metaphorically speaking. I always tell people whenever they work with me, like, my goal is to get you to not need me as quickly as possible. I don't want to create codependency. I want to create self-sufficiency, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to reign in life, is if you're self-sufficient. Now, I'm not saying that a level of codependency is not good, right? I mean, I have a level of codependency on my wife, but I'm not completely dependent on her, right? Some codependency is not bad, but it's whenever you're entirely codependent on other people, that is a problem in the long term, right? Temporary codependence, we all go through stuff. I've had to move in with my mom, like, I think it was like 3 or 4 times early on in my life before I finally was able to kind of flap my wings on my own. I had to go back to the nest and get fed. My mom had some little worms there, metaphorically speaking, and she was happy to have me, actually. She was like, "Oh, my birdie's back in the nest." But ultimately, in this life, you have to be self-sufficient. Life is warfare. And you have to have a soldier's mentality if you want to be successful. So anyway, with that being said, you have to learn to say no. And you don't have to say the word no. In fact, you probably shouldn't, because the word no will probably generate offense in somebody. What I've learned to do is the sandwich method. You do one positive, then you insert the negative, and then you do another positive. It's very difficult to get upset if you present your no in the form of the sandwich method, unless the person is just really toxic or abusive. And if you don't do what they want, then they're going to turn on you. Then it doesn't matter how you package it. And that's a sign that you're connected to the wrong people. Let me give you, for example, let's say that somebody asks you to do something that you don't have the energy for. How do you respond to that? Well, one response is you could muscle your way through, which is doing something that you don't have the energy for, which leads to fatigue, which leads to burnout, which leads to overwhelm. Or the alternative is you could communicate to them with the sandwich method that you're not able to do it while still maintaining the connection. I really appreciate you asking me. In fact, I'm honored that you asked me. I will say, like, don't say the word but. I've learned that people hear the word but and they automatically go into defense mode. So remove the word but from your vocabulary. So I really appreciate you asking me that. I'm actually honored that you asked me. I will say that with my current schedule, if I were to do that, it would lead to a lot of overwhelm and fatigue right now. I don't have a ton of energy to pour out because of everything that's going on in my life. But once again, thank you so much for offering. And once things calm down a little bit, I would be more than happy to revisit this and see if I can do it for you, right? How are you going to be mad at that? Like, of course, there's going to be that one person that still is mad at that because you have a exclusively transactional relationship and they're really not for you. They're just for what you can add to the relationship. And once you take away the positive benefit that you're adding to the relationship, there is no relationship. And it's not good to have a bunch of purely transactional relationships as far as like intimate relationships. If we're talking about like the bank teller or the cashier at the grocery store, well, that is a purely transactional relationship. There's no connection outside of that transaction. But whenever it comes to the people that are close to you, yeah, there's a transactional element. You add value to me, I add value to you. But there's also it should be primarily a relational element. Even if you add no value to me, I'm still going to be there for you. Even if you add no value to me or I add no value to you, we are still there for each other. That's a true relationship. And you can honestly immediately tell what kind of relationships that you have by temporarily removing the transactional element. Stop adding the value to them that you've been adding and see what happens. It might be eye-opening for you. I've got a friend, actually, he's currently going through a major surgery. This is actually my best friend next to my wife. And we talk every day for the most part. In fact, I think we've probably spoken every day for a long time now. And he's going through this major surgery. And of course, I mean, I'm gonna call and check on him and text him and be like, hey, how are you doing? And I've done that every day since his surgery. But yet most of the people around him who claim to be so close to him have not even reached out at all since the surgery. And it's been days. And he's having a wake-up call and realizing that a lot of the relationships that he thought were relational are actually pretty much primarily transactional. It's frustrating when you realize that. But anyway, with that being said, I'm kind of rabbit trailing a little bit. But you need to learn how to say no if you want to live a stress-free life. And by stress-free, I'm not saying every now and then you're not going to have some stress, but you can get to the point where it's pretty rare. That's my life. It's very rare that I stress out. And if I do stress out, it's very short-lived. So this is one of the pieces. There's no magical cure. There's not one thing that you can do that's going to magically rewire your nervous system. This is just one thing. But it's a very important thing. And if you're a people pleaser, you have to completely strip that from your identity. Because if you're a people pleaser, it may sound funny, like, oh, and it even sounds altruistic. I'm a people pleaser, right? I put other people first in everything that I do. It sounds altruistic, but it's actually extremely unhealthy. Here's my way of thinking. By putting my health first and my wellness first, it allows me to have the energy to put other people first, right? You got to learn to rewire your brain to not associate self-care with guilt. Some of you, you're dehydrated, you're not eating right, You're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to take care of everybody else, and you feel guilty for taking a nap. You feel guilty for going to the gym. You feel guilty for relaxing and doing some slow diaphragmatic breathing. You're like, no, 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 I got to help other people. And it's probably because at some point in your life, maybe it was parents, some sort of influence, they made you feel guilty for self-care. I know in the Western world, especially with men, it's like considered feminine or weak to do self-care. It's considered non-masculine, but actually one of the most masculine things that you can do is take care of yourself. So that way you can lead with strength. It's very difficult to lead with strength and to be emotionally regulated whenever your body is a place of chaos. That's not masculine, that's foolishness. But we're not taught this. We're taught just grind, just hustle, just muscle your way through. I see all these videos sometimes. The person will be like doing a selfie at the gym, and they'll be like, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I've gotten 2 hours of sleep and I have no energy and I've drinking 4 coffees and 3 Red Bulls and 6 Monsters, but here I am still at the gym. And listen, I'm not saying that we're not supposed to have resilience, that we need to be disciplined. But if your discipline and resilience is costing you your body, you lose because you're sacrificing your quality of life. You're not a machine. You don't have unlimited energy. You have to accept that. Do you know how many people reach out to me on a weekly basis that I can't help? This was one of the most difficult parts of my entire career, was learning to accept that I'm only one person. I actually just counted. I've got 34 clients right now. People that are experiencing complex trauma, panic attacks, anxiety, depersonalization, neuralization. And every single day I wake up and there's new messages and there's sessions that I have to be a part of. And there are people who are depending on me. And I can't pour out energy to them if I'm wasting it on situations that I don't have the energy for. This is a hard principle. It's a hard pill to swallow. But there are going to be people that come to you for help that you don't have the energy to help. And that doesn't mean that you're a bad person. I talk to people all the time. They'll say, oh yeah, I'm a people pleaser. And they're exhausted and their sleep is terrible. And they're having to drink like 5-6 cups of coffee just to make it through the day. And they're constantly stressed out. And they're usually people like me. I would consider myself an empath. I have very high levels of empathy, meaning like I really want to help everybody. But I tried it and it doesn't work. It led to burnout. It led to fatigue. You're not Superman or Superwoman, and I'm not Superman or Superwoman. You're not a machine, and neither am I. You have to accept that there are a certain level of people that you have the energy to help, which should primarily be your family, number one. Secondly, should be your career. And then thirdly, should be anybody else that you are able to help while staying within good energy. You need to write out a priority structure for how you invest your time and your energy. And you have to retrain your brain that saying no doesn't make me a bad person. It makes me a smart person. Because I understand, I accept that I don't have unlimited energy. And as long as you live your life acting like you have unlimited energy, you're going to continually write energy checks that your body can't cash. And the side effects of that will be increased stress, constant fatigue, and eventually nervous system overwhelm, which is a trauma state. The people that work with me, one of the reasons why they ended up in a state of trauma, which is a state of nervous system overwhelm, is because they acted like they were superhuman in the way that they lived their life. And in the midst of that, their body got left behind. They lost their body. And their body became a war zone, full of tension, energy, emotion, and fatigue. And what did they do? They started to live up here, where it feels safer, because if I'm in my head, I don't have to be interoceptive. Interoception is the experience of the embodied self. That's where we experience what's happening in our body. When your body becomes a war zone, the only retreat is to your head. And then eventually living in your head isn't enough. You can't distract away from everything. And then zoom, you come face to face with your body, and it leads to complete overwhelm. And then that's whenever trauma symptoms kick in. Memory can start to mess up. Time feels distorted. Depersonalization, derealization kick in as a buffer to create some distance between you and your body and you and the material world. It gets nasty. And so part of what I'm doing in this video is helping us understand what happened, why you got into this state, and helping us pick up the pieces and heal. And this is, again, one of the things that you need to do. Recovery and healing are multifaceted. Trauma is a body that is constantly preparing for a threat that never comes. And there are dozens of factors that are causing your body to be stuck in this state. But one of those factors is that you don't know when to say no. And you have to learn to do it. This is the new boundary, and then we're done with the video. I don't care what it cost me. I'm going to place my health first, because if I don't take care of myself, I cannot take care of anybody else. By putting myself first in terms of health and wellness, that will give me the energy to invest in other people. At this point in my life, most of my life, I would literally say at this point, 99% of my life is poured out to other people, whether it's my clients, whether it's my family. My life is all about other people, and I love that, which is one reason why I am more fulfilled than I've ever been in my entire life. But I also have hours a day of self-care, between getting in the sauna, between getting in some sort of hot water, between progressive muscle relaxation, slow diaphragmatic breathing, Wim Hof breathing, eating healthy, taking naps when I need to take a nap. It's definitely at least a few hours a day that I put into self-care. And people may see that and think like, what? You do all of that? You better believe it. And the more that I increase self-care, the more that I increase my capacity to transform others' lives. Whenever I'm sitting in front of a client, I'm able to harness the full capacity of my prefrontal cortex. Why? Because my body is in a really good state, especially from a muscular perspective. As you can see, I'm just bulging out of this hoodie. Actually, I think you could, like a full family could live in this thing. I actually just hired a nutrition and fitness coach. And so hopefully in the next coming months, you'll start to see a little bit of bulk. We'll see about that. That was a joke, by the way. But anyway, you got to take care of yourself, or you can't take care of anybody else. Learn to say no. You don't have to say the word no, unless the person is being aggressive or something. But you do need to learn how to kindly but assertively tell people that you're not able to do things. I do it all the time. I have people reach out. They're like, hey, can you be on this podcast? Or, hey, can you coach me for free? Do you know how much that I would love to coach people for free? In fact, I tried it. Originally in my career, I created a Patreon. I'm like, you know what? Maybe people will just donate and it'll allow me to not have to charge anybody. At max capacity, I think I got $45 a month. I wanted that. And then I actually shifted to where I just charged next to nothing to work with me. And what ended up happening is most of the people, like 90+% of the people, didn't show up to meetings. They weren't committed, because I've learned that those who pay more pay attention more, right? So anyway, with that being said, I've learned to become a person of boundaries. And this is one of those boundaries that I have that has allowed me to walk around stress-free. Again, every now and then I'll stress out, but it's very short-lived. I'm very comfortable with saying no, because of the consequences of saying no to somebody. Like, let's say that they do retaliate against me, or they try to make me feel bad or guilt me or walk away from me, whatever, are far less severe than the consequences of saying yes to everybody whenever I don't have the energy for it. And not only am I a coach to anywhere from 25 to 35 complex trauma clients at a time, but I'm also a father. I'm also a husband. I've also got a personal life. And like, as much as I would love to have unlimited energy, I just don't have it. And even though I've accepted it, not everybody has accepted it. Most people will be cool with it. It's very rare that I get pushback if I assert boundaries, but every now and then there'll be somebody, whether it's in my personal life or online, that wants to try to make me feel guilty or even try to, just really come against me because of those boundaries. But I get it. I'm not judging them. From their perspective, they don't understand how many clients that I have. They don't understand how much energy that I pour out to help people. They don't understand that I'm a father and a husband. They don't get these things. But just because somebody else doesn't get it doesn't mean that I need to lack boundaries. And there will be people that aren't thinking about you. That's the thing, is a lot of people, there's even good people that will inadvertently cross your boundaries or try to, simply because they're suffering and they're not thinking about anything other than themselves. That doesn't make them a bad person, but they're not at a place where they can see things from your perspective. They don't know what's on your plate. And so you have to have boundaries despite that lack of understanding and be ready to face potential consequences of them only seeing things from your perspective. Like, I had somebody email me the other day, and I know this is a longer video, but I feel like this is a good download for you. This is actually going to change a lot of people's life. This is going to be fundamental for some people's healing, learning to say no. I had somebody email the other day. They said, hey, can I ask you why you charge? Like, why don't you do everything for free? And I typically don't respond to messages like that, but this person, you could tell, was genuinely wondering. And in fact, they said their husband was asking. I said, well, I have X amount of money of bills every year. And I'm not going to say the amount, but it's over 6 figures in just bills in order to pay my team and do what I do. And I said, the reason why I charge is because it's necessary for me to be able to spend 60 plus hours a week pouring out to my clients and also having energy for my family as well. I couldn't work a full-time job and do this. There's no way. And it's not just me that I'm needing to provide for. I'm also providing for multiple families that work for me, that help me make this whole thing work. And they were like, that makes 100% sense. Right? So anyway, with that being said, you have to accept whatever consequences may come for you having boundaries where you put your health first. Because if you don't set up this boundary, that means that you're going to put everybody else first and your body's going to be left behind, and the consequences will be nonstop stress and fatigue, and it will not be a pretty picture. So that is it. Smash the like button if you are ready to put self-care first. And comment something below if you have any questions, if you want to share just any positive things or comments or anything like that. Just let me know. I love hearing from you guys. You guys have been leaving some pretty awesome comments lately. I'm doing my best to try to at least look at every comment that's posted, although I can't respond to everyone. Anyway, also make sure to subscribe if you're trying to heal from trauma, anxiety, panic, depersonalization, realization, emotional numbness, existential obsession, rumination, health anxiety, obsessive thoughts, behaviors, all that stuff. These are the things that I kind of specialize in. And I also specialize in computer hacking skills and nunchuck skills. And I've got a lot of really sweet skills. Comment below if you know what movie that's from. And if you don't know what movie that's from, you have not lived yet. That is it. Peace. Have a good day.